Hello, sisters and brothers. Our devotional for today, for July 28, is a reflection on My Utmost for His Highest, a series of devotionals written and compiled by Oswald Chambers. You can always find the link for the daily devotional at utmost.org. And for today's devotional, we're going to look at two verses from Mark chapter 6, and it's the two verses right before the passage that talks about Jesus walking on the water. So I'll read verses 45 and 46 of Mark 6. Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. After leaving them, he went up on a mountainside to pray. And the title of today's devotional is God's Purpose or Mine. We tend to think that if Jesus Christ compels us to do something and we are obedient to him, he will lead us to great success. We should never have the thought that our dreams of success are God's purpose for us. In fact, his purpose may be exactly the opposite. We have the idea that God is leading us toward a particular end or desired goal, but he is not. The question of whether or not we arrive at a particular goal is of little importance, and reaching it becomes merely an episode along the way. What we see as only the process of reaching a particular end, God sees as the goal itself. What is my vision of God's purpose for me? Whatever it may be, his purpose is for me to depend on him and on his power now. If I can stay calm, faithful, and unconfused while in the middle of the turmoil of life, the goal of the purpose of God is being accomplished in me. God is not working toward a particular finish. His purpose is the process itself. What he desires for me is that I see him walking on the sea with no shore, no success, nor goal in sight, but simply having the absolute certainty that everything is all right because I see him walking on the sea. Verse 49 of that same chapter. It is the process, not the outcome, that is glorifying to God. God's training is for now, not later. His purpose is for this very minute, not for some time in the future. We have nothing to do with what will follow our obedience, and we are wrong to concern ourselves with it. What people call preparation, God sees as the goal itself. God's purpose is to enable me to see that he can walk on the storms of my life right now. If we have a further goal in mind, we are not paying enough attention to the present time. However, if we realize that moment by moment obedience is the goal, then each moment as it comes is precious. Well, I have to tell you, this devotional hits me square between the eyes today. I think it's very timely, and it's very good. Just out of that simple passage where Jesus said to the disciples, go on ahead of me, I'm going to dismiss the crowds, you set out in your boats, and then Jesus went up to pray. And of course, if you know the story, we know that later a storm came up, and the disciples saw Jesus walking on the water. But how often in life do we think that our obedience is going to lead to something for us? I do. I do that often, where I'm considering what is going to be the end result of my obedience, God. What do you have for me next? And you see, if we're doing it that way, it's not about God's results. It's not about God's plan and purpose for our life. It's about ours. And that's the very simple title of the devotional today, God's Purpose, Not Mine. Because it's very easy to get caught up in that. Because think about it, all as you've grown up and you enter into adulthood, you're asked all these questions. What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to accomplish? What are your goals? And how often do we ask someone, what is God doing in you right now? How are you obeying God right now, right where you are in your circumstances today? That's all he's asked. In other words, what Chambers described for us is that God is concerned with the process, not the end result. The end result is already taken care of. If you trust in God's divine plan for your life, you already know that's going to be accomplished. But we have to enjoy this very moment right now. Enjoy the preciousness of this moment. And God will take care of what happens next. God knows, but he's asking you to be present and obedient where you are right now today. I hope this encouraged you today. Thank you as always for listening. Be safe and stay well.